Hi everybody, I'm Sherry Johnson. I am the LiftMaster Radio Control Sales Manager, and I do all the LiftMaster radio controls regardless of whether they're residential or commercial. I've been with the company for 11 years. I recently came over from the marketing department where I was the product manager for those very same products, so I'm extremely familiar, so if there are any questions, please feel free. So today we're going to talk a little bit about Security Plus 2.0 technology. I'm going to explain what it is and why we did that. MyQ technology, I'm going to go over the MyQ control panel, which is a new product that we launched this year. Talk about some new commercial access radios that we've got out. Give you a quick HomeLink update on our product line. We've got some 2013 obsolescence that I'm going to review with you, so if you have any questions, we can talk about that then. And then I'll end with the new residential accessories and some updates on our two new operators that we launched at IDA this year. So to start out with, I'm just going to talk about what Security Plus 2.0 technology is. So it's not just the radio. On the residential side, Security Plus 2.0 is a new technology for us. It is partly the radio. It's a new rolling code. We did three things to the radio. We made it all narrowband. So both on the transmitter side as well as the receiver side, we are now narrowband. We encrypted the code to make it more secure, and we also went to tri-band. That means the receiver and the transmitters talk on three frequencies simultaneously at one time. So if you're having difficulty or interference on one frequency, it doesn't really matter at that time. The other two will pick up. And tomorrow, it could be a different two that pick up. So you don't have to select. It just automatically does it for you. The other thing that Security Plus 2.0 is on the wired side, so where you wire in the control panel. We did put an encryption on there. And the reason we did this is because there were some devices out there that were tying into the wall control panels that were moving the door in an unsafe manner. They were either blocking the need to have photo eyes. It was a product out of Canada that you could put on there that would allow you to not plug in the photo eyes, which is against the law in the United States. And then the other one was we had some garage door monitor type products that closed the door that didn't meet the UL 325 spec. So by encrypting those controls, we can stop that, and anything that now gets wired into our products, it has to have an identification. So the garage door opener actually recognizes the device. The device says, my ID is such and such, and then it says, yes, I'll work with you. So that's the encryption on the wired side of the business. So you'll note that all of our new control panels that we launched with our new product line on the residential side only work with the new openers, and the old ones only work with the old. And that's because of this encryption. And that's all part of the Security Plus 2.0. Does anybody have any questions on that? Cool. Moving along. So in late 2011, we launched a product called the Max Controls. There are 4 model offerings, 3 transmitters, and a keypad. The nice thing about the Max is these are your compatibility types of solutions. These go all the way back to 1993, and for anybody that does residential, that means anything with back to the green button. So green button was billion code. That was our 80 series transmitters. These new Max controls can now be programmed to those older garage door openers. Anything that's the old logic that you had on the, like a 412HM, which used the billion code, you can now use these transmitters as well. So the Max transmitters are really nice. I am going to talk about a new programming step. In the instruction sheet, it tells you to put the operator into program mode and then put the transmitter into program mode, and then you cycle the button through until the lights blink. That works 90% of the time, with the exception of programming to our Security Plus. Most dealers or installers, when they're programming transmitters to the power head, they're usually up on a ladder next to the head. On our Security Plus code, it's so strong, it can identify that code, whether it's in 315 or 390. So if you experience the problem where you've stepped off the ladder and now you have no range with the Max control, it's because it learned it on the wrong frequency. So there's a new programming method. It's called advanced programming. I have little cards that have the steps in for everybody. So after the presentation, you can stop by and I'll give you a card for this. You can have a couple extras for your offices. So you're going to do an advanced programming of the button. So what you're basically doing is advanced programming that button to the type of operator that it is. So for instance, if I'm programming a 893 Max to a orange button, which was our Security Plus 390 megahertz, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to put the transmitter in program mode. I'm ignoring the opener right now. and then I press the button 3 times for orange. So it's 1 time for yellow, 2 times for purple, 3 for orange, 4 for green. It goes back in the order that we launched the products. So if you get back, goes back in technology. Once I press it 3 times, I press any other button to get out. That button now thinks it's a 971 LM, which was our 1-button transmitter for the orange button garage door opener. So then I go up to the power head, press the orange learn button, press the button, it learns perfectly every time. So it's just advanced programming. This works really well with commercial door operators too. So if you're trying to program a max transmitter to like a Logic 3 or a Logic 4, advanced program it first. So Logic 3 was 390 megahertz security plus. So you would learn it to that first, or if you wanted it to be in billion code, which you could back then, you could learn it to the billion code. So if you advanced program it, it works every single time. So that's a nice thing about that. The other thing I'm going to talk about is how to identify a max control versus any of the other controls. So we have 2 transmitters, and I'm going to show you these. So they look almost identical with the exception of 2 things. The LED is red on one and yellow on the other. The red one is the max, the yellow one is just the Security Plus 2.0 tri-band transmitter. The other thing, if you look behind where the visor clip is, there's a learn button on the max. So those are the 2 ways you can identify a max transmitter if you're trying to identify what you have. So red means max, yellow means standard. The other thing is on the keypad you have the same thing. So this one happens to be a max keypad. So it's got the reddish orange backlight. On the regular LM keypad, it's yellow backlight. The other thing you can do is if you look on the little label that's inside that gives you instructions on how to program a code, there's a little word on the bottom left corner called key plus. That means it's a max. That's like a little code that we put in for our tech support, which I'm going to share with you guys. So if you go and you look at a keypad, you don't have to take it off the wall to figure out what it is. If you open up that thing and you see key plus, you know you have a max keypad in your hand, all right? So that's a quick way to note that. So the LM radios, which I told you with the yellow, those are only Security Plus 2.0. They don't have any of the backwards compatibility in them. They are a tri-band transmitter. They're a very good transmitter to have if you've experiencing a lot of interference. Again, the receiver and the transmitter themselves are both narrow band, encrypted, and on the tri-band. So this is a good transmitter to use if you're definitely experiencing interference issues on this application. Let's see. And then we launched a product called our learning transmitter. So the LTs, 892 LT and 894 LT. LT stands for learning transmitter. We came up with some really great ideas on that one. So these replaced a group of transmitters that we had in the market. It was the 2 and 4 button LM series, the 372, 374, 972, 974. Those have all been obsoleted. These now replace them because they do everything those transmitters did. However, they do it slightly different. So back in the day when you used a 2-button or 4-button transmitter and needed to clone a dip switch transmitter, that's what they're really designed for, you had to press and hold the 2 outer buttons to get it into learn mode, and there was a little tiny LED on the back. When that lit up, you'd bring the dip switch transmitter next to it, press that button, press the button you wanted to learn to, and then it would clone a dip switch transmitter. So on a 372 LM, that second button would clone to a 361 LM, so you could have one transmitter that would open the gate, and then the other transmitter would be selected for the consumer for their home. So these can do the same thing. This time you don't have to do that funky step. If you open up the battery door cover, and I have one up here, if you open it up, there's a learn button underneath there. So number one question is, this thing won't go into learn because they didn't read the instructions and realize there's actually a learn button in this transmitter. So this works very similar if you're familiar with our 375 LM, which is our universal remote to put it in program mode. It's the same technology, so you put it in program mode. The nice thing about the new LTs is it doesn't matter which button I clone. I mean, where in the old line you had to do the last button, this one I can do any button. All buttons are independent. So the nice thing is for gated community, if I have the front gate that has a 312 HM receiver in it, And the back gate is an older gate, and that has a 412HM receiver in it. I can take 2 buttons on this 974LM and clone a 61LM to one button, a 361LM to another button, and then I leave 2 more buttons for the homeowner for the garage door. And the garage door can be back to Security Plus, orange button. All right? So any questions on how the LTs work? Same principle, just slightly different way that you're going to learn that transmitter. But the cloning is identical. Once you put it in a program mode, you just bring the dip switch transmitter up to it, hold the button on that one, hold the button on this one, and then when the light goes out, it's cloned. So nice little transmitter to have to do multiple different. It's designed for gated communities, but you can use it for a multitude of things. All right. So like I mentioned, this can clone back to the 412HM. We do have a new transmitter out and receiver out for the new Security Plus 2.0. The receiver, and we'll talk about that in a second, is 850. And then the transmitter is an 811. It's like a 61LM for the new Security Plus 2.0. And those are now available. This transmitter can clone all of that as well and learn to all of those. Any questions on Security Plus 2.0 and the transmitters? All right, moving on. So MyQ technology. MyQ technology is another radio that we've put into our openers. It's been moving into our residential openers. It's a different radio. It's actually a combined radio with the Security Plus 2.0, but this is a standalone radio, where the other one is just a command radio. This one is a communication radio. So literally it talks to each other. It's on a 902 to 928 megahertz. It's 50 channels, frequency hopping, spread spectrum. Kind of has to make sure that it gets to the place where it needs to go and it can avoid any noise. So it's pretty extreme range. We can get up to 1,500 feet open field with this transmitter or with this radio. And then the devices that we have provide options for monitoring your garage door opener or your gate operator and soon to be your commercial door operator in our either by monitoring it simply with a gate and garage door monitor locally, or you can do it via the smartphone. And then we do also have some lighting devices. There's a plug-in light control as well as a wired-in switch. The wired-in switch is a single pole switch only. You can't do 3-way on that one, but it does allow you to monitor and control lights via the smartphone. And then we already just talked about this. Oh, one thing about this, controlling your doors remotely. So I mentioned earlier we put an encryption into the control panel area where you wire in the control panels because I didn't want unsafe remote monitoring. The reason that our product is safe and we meet all UL 325 is we have a technology in our garage door openers called Alert to Close. And what that does is it provides what's the requirements for UL 325, which is an audible alert and a visual alert. So when you remotely close a door by either your smartphone or the garage and gate monitor from inside the house where you can't see the door moving, what it does is it flashes the lights for 8 seconds and then it closes the door, and at the same time it's beeping the whole entire time. So it's making sure that if anybody's in the way of that door, they get out of the way. So it's only for sectional doors. It is not designed for one-piece doors. Does anybody know why it's not designed for one-piece doors? You? No. The reason is because on a one-piece door, if you ever see one, it kicks out into the open space on the outside of the garage. And if you're blind or deaf, or if you have a back to it, you didn't see an alert, you didn't hear anything, and it can come down and hit you on the head. So we say that it's not designed for one-piece doors. And that's a UL requirement. All right. We did introduce a new product this year. It's the MyQ control panel. So up until this year, if you wanted to have the MyQ radio, you had to buy a new garage door opener. Now you don't. So anything back manufactured by the Chamberlain Group to 1998, if you swap out the control panel that's on that opener and replace it with this, you can get MyQ. You can also get Security Plus 2.0. So this upgrades all those older operators to the new technology, and it adds the motion sensing, so it turns the lights on. It also has a timer to close on it, so if you want to set a timer to close, there's a simple timer on here, 1, 5, or 10 minutes. And the reason we can do that is because the technology exists that this talks through that security, through the wire, talks to the garage door opener and asks the status. So it can find out if the door is open or closed. It can also command that the GDO flash its lights And the beeper part of it is in here. The piezo buzzer is in this, so this provides the audible alert that you need it to do for the UL325. So this is a nice new little add-on feature. Works with everything back to 98. There's 3 models I'm aware of that it does not work with. It's the original 2500 low-profile DC operator and the SD1000 and the SD2000 screwdriver operators from 99. Those are the only 3 openers it will not work on. All right, so that's the new MyQ control panel. Yes, so you can program the gateway to that directly and get smartphone access to it. Yep. And if you want, I've got a couple of locations where they've sold into Dell Webs, I guess, and they were doing like an upgrade kit, and they just offered the garage and gate monitor with the MyQ control panel so that the homeowner could have a garage door monitor inside their house and be able to still close, and that will work with this as well. So again, this is just some of the things that the MyQ control panel can do, what we've already talked about. So any questions on the Home MyQ Security Plus 2.0? I'm going to move into some of our commercial access radios. So we've got a line of new radios that can give you simple, keep the riffraff out is what I call them, to some higher security type controls for gate operators and commercial door operators. They're all with the Security Plus 2.0 narrowband, tri-band radio. Everything going forward is going to be with this radio system. And they provide some extreme range and high performance. We're getting really good range on these transmitters. So the first one, the 850 LM has been out for about a year now. It's doing really well. It's the replacement for basically for the 312 or the 412. But the other thing that we did to it is we had a product line back prior to 2005 that was a 2-channel and 3-channel. It's mostly used for commercial door applications, which we never converted into the 315. Well, we've rolled the needs for those receivers into this 850 LM. So this is a 3-channel receiver. The channel 1 is your primary because the primary use is for a single channel solution. That one holds 50 transmitters, and the other 2 channels each hold 20. So if you were doing a commercial door operator, you could do 20 open close stop transmitters on this receiver. So it's really nice if you needed to upgrade interference issues or whatever, a Logic 4 operator. You can do that with this 850. And the 860 LM, I'm happy to announce, is now available. It just came out last week, and it is the identical receiver, but it is in a weatherproof housing. So if you have an application where you need to get a receiver up on a pole, and you don't want to put it in, or you need to get it in like a weather-type box, you don't need to buy an external box anymore. You just buy the 860 LM. It's in a weather-type box. So, and that's a picture of it down there. It kind of looks like this without the keypad. So it's just plain, you can see, but it's got the same back and the same weatherproof. This is a weatherproof case as well. So the nice thing about commercial receivers is they're compatible with everything. On the residential side, we've got some transmitters that won't work with them, but on all our commercial receivers, they work with all the transmitters in the Security Plus 2.0 line. So here are the 2 transmitters that are really commercial that don't work on our residential operators, and these are encrypted dip switch transmitters. They're really more secure than our original dip switch, so our 61 and 361. These we actually encrypted the code. They are tri-band, so even our dip switch transmitters are on the tri-band narrowband. We've got 2 versions. There's a 1-button 811 LM dip switch transmitter, and then we have the 813 LM open close stop transmitter. It's got the little red, green, yellow stripes on the buttons for the open close stop for commercial door applications. So those are the 2 new dip switch transmitters in the Security Plus 2.0 line. These do not work with the residential openers, all right? Just like in the other line, the 61 LM doesn't, these don't work in the residential. So it's purely for commercial applications.
Hey, Sherry?
Yes?
I've got a question here. The 860 LM, can we use that in a car wash compatible?
I would say no. I wouldn't say that it would be able to handle up to that.
The constant
Yeah.
water?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but that's a good question. Any questions on that? That's the keep the riffraff out line. That's what I call that. Then we move up to the Star 1000. So if anybody ever asks you, well, if I have to delete a transmitter, how do I delete it without having to delete all of them? And so, as I mentioned in that 850 LM and the 860 LM, you can do 90 transmitters on that thing. Well, if you have to delete one, you have to delete them all and start over. So if anybody ever asks you that, move them to the Star product automatically. If they have the need to be able to delete a single transmitter, they need to move up into this middle area. The Star 1000 has a really nice feature, add, block, and delete. So you can add a single transmitter, you can block that transmitter, and you can delete that transmitter, and it doesn't affect any of the other transmitters that are learned in the product. So if you've used a Star 450 before, this is just an upgrade version. We noticed that a lot of customers were using 2 Star 450s on a single application, so we moved up to a Star 1000. But by no means do you have to have 1,000 transmitters. Typically, they're around 500 to 600 is what the maximum is usually going into these right now. I expect that to probably increase. If you've known anything about our Star line, it started out as a 250 transmitter, then it moved to a 450, and so now we're up to the 1,000 because things just keep getting more complicated. The nice thing about the Star is we added a new feature. So everything that you liked about the Star 450 is still in the Star 1000. It still has the extra memory module. So you learn all your transmitters, you take the memory module out, put it in your desk drawer. If something happens to that receiver, you can replace the receiver with a new one, take the memory module out of your drawer, plug it in, all the transmitters are now learned into this new receiver. So that's a really nice feature to have. It's got that redundant memory that you can pull out. It still has this in this one. The one thing that we added was the ability to bulk learn transmitters. So it's 1,000 transmitters. If you're sitting there adding transmitters all day long, it could take you a while. So what this one can do with our Passport line of transmitters is you can bulk learn them in. So if you have a box of 100, you can learn the first one in, you can learn the last one, and it learns all 100 in, and the Star then will tell you that it's learned this block of transmitters from this location to this location. So then you can log them into your Excel spreadsheet or your workbook or however you're keeping track of the transmitters on a Star. It's not a TES system, it's kind of the middle of the road. So it's got a new LCD screen that's very user-friendly that tells you what you need to do. And the one thing is that Passport, if you're familiar with Passport works with residential operators. So it's on the pricier side. We have a new line of Passport transmitters called Passport Lite that only work with the commercial receivers. They work with the commercial gate operators, the new ones coming out that are Security Plus 2.0, and they'll work with all these new commercial receivers. The nice thing about Passport Lite is it's a very cost-effective, high-capacity solution. So you can buy 100 Passport Lite transmitters, and they'll net you out around $7.58 a piece for a transmitter. So that's kind of a nice solution for a high-capacity commercial application. And you can bulk learn them in. And the nice thing about it is the Passport Lite comes in 10 packs and 100 packs. And all you really need to do with the Star is present the first and last transmitter. And so if you open up the box, they're all bulk packed in little poly bags. And one is clearly marked first and one is clearly marked last. And you pull those 2 transmitters out of the box. When it says present first, click it. When it says present last, click it. It learns all the transmitters in between. So it's a really nice quick feature for learning transmitters in. And if you ever need to delete just one, you don't have to delete the whole block. You just delete that one transmitter. So that's nice. Star was designed for self-storage systems. They wanted a way to be able, the block feature was the big thing. They wanted to be able to block the transmitter so that if a person that had rented a self-storage unit came into the gate operator and they hadn't paid their bill, you could block their transmitter. And when you called and you say, well, you haven't paid your bill, you have to come and pay your bill before I'm going to unblock your transmitter. And then, so that would get you your payment back. So that's what Star was really designed around. Any questions on Star? Cool. We talked about Passport Lite. It does come in 3 flavors. We have a 1-button visor, a 1-button mini keychain, and then a 1-button mini keychain with a prox reader as well. So you can have all 3 of those. And they, again, 10 and 100 packs. These are all Security Plus 2.0. They're all tri-band. They're only for commercial applications. And then there is a new Passport receiver as well for those of you that might be aware of it. Again, the Passport, well, that's weird, the nice Chinese symbol. So the passport receiver is only Security Plus 2.0 tri-band. The passport receiver is designed to work in conjunction with the TES system. It can work with both the passport transmitters that are full passport as well as the passport light. So if you're doing something with the TES system that's purely a commercial application, quote the passport light. It's a cost-effective transmitter for you guys to get in to get that business. And just to know that the passport transmitters, the full transmitters, are compatible with the residential openers as well on the Security Plus 2.0. Is everybody aware of HomeLink? Okay. The code for the Security Plus 2.0 was provided to our partner, Johnson Controls, in 2005. And that is why if you'll see a lot of cutoff dates that if you have a car that's older than 2005, they're on their own. Anything prior to, or after that, we have a repeater if it doesn't work, if the car company didn't get the code into the car. What we have discovered is, and I can say this because I'm German, but the Germans decided that they can do whatever they want. So you'll notice this on mostly German cars. So you'll see a Mercedes, a couple Mercedes models, a couple BMW models that the HomeLink code is not up to date. It's actually pretty out of date. There's a couple of US cars that are also out of date, the code that's in the cars. What we discovered is that car companies don't change the visors unless they change the entire interior of the car. So they might do an outer skin new look for the car, but if they didn't change the interior, they didn't change the visor. So the code was never upgraded. When you run into a car that has not been upgraded, we have a thing called the HomeLink repeater. And what that does is actually translates it back to a Security Plus on a 310 megahertz. All right, so it's a translator. It's a frequency code translator. So we have a program that if you run into this and you give your customer a free repeater, you can get a replacement repeater from us for free. It's sponsored by the Johnson Controls company. So they have a new program that they're kicking off. The system we have right now is pretty manually intensive. You have to write it up and everything and mail it in. There's a new program that's kicking off this month. It's on the dealer extranet. And if you log in, you can say, I had to use a free repeater at this home for this car on this date because they bought a new car or they got a new opener and their car didn't work with it. You just put in the reasoning behind it. And then once you get 4 of them, you can redeem them for 4 free repeaters. And it's an automatic thing done through the dealer extranet. So that's kicking off. There's information that's mailing this week to everybody, distributors, so that you can pass that on to everybody. But that is a program. This is sponsored by Johnson Controls and LiftMaster to help you out. Now there's a product out there called Car2U. We are not compatible with Car2U. We never have been on any of our products. But in the event that you do run into Car2U, Lear, the owner of Car2U, has a Car2U repeater as well. Unfortunately, I can't sell that to you or to any of our distributors or dealers. You have to purchase that directly from the company called Lear. So if you do run into that, just know that that's a different company. However, if you can't get on the dealer extranet or you don't want to do that, you still can do it the old-fashioned way and mail in the rebates and get your free repeaters back. Okay? Any questions on HomeLink? Mm-hmm?
It's not by any particular, because like I've called, they've gotten free repeaters, but they said, well, it depends on what vehicle you qualify.
So yeah.
What now?
If the car is, I believe what they did is they drew the line in the sand for 2006. If the car is 2006 or newer and it doesn't work, they can get a free repeater. If the car is older, it's just older, and they're going to have to buy the repeater. The homeowner is responsible for buying the repeater. Okay? All right. Any more questions on HomeLink before I get into my obsolescence? Key things you need to know about what's going to happen with our line this year. So the products that are going to go away, some of them are going away by the end of the year, some of them by midsummer, but these are the ones that you kind of have to pay attention to. The 973LM, that's a 3-button Security Plus transmitter for the orange button garage door openers. That product is going away this year. I believe it's the end of this year. And the replacements for that are any of the Max transmitters, so you can use the 893 Max, the 895, which is the bling, which is the one with the pretty blue LED lights. So we call it bling. Bling for your car. And then the 890 Max Mini, those are all 3-button transmitters. Those can all be programmed to orange button. So they'll replace it. We've noticed that most people are migrating to the Max products and not using that 973 LM as much anymore. The 977 LM, that's the 390 megahertz keypad. That one's also going away, I believe, August 1st? I think it's August 1st. So that one's going away. The replacement is the 877 Max. The reason these are kind of going away is obviously you guys aren't buying as many of them anymore, so they cost me more money to make. So I'm going to sell what you buy. The 365 and the 635 are on the list to be obsoleted. I'm rethinking the 365. So definitely the 635 LM, which is the old 390 megahertz plug-in to upgrade a radio to Security Plus. That's going away at the end of the year. Technically, you can use the 888 LM MyQ control panel. It's easier, it looks nicer, and it upgrades them to the newer technology. So that would be the best bet to go with when you're trying to upgrade a transmitter or a garage opener. The 398 LM, it's that silver smart control panel. It was our first one with the LCD panel. It was packed into all of our Elite series. By the end of this year, all of our Elite series are going to be in the new product line, so they will be in the new MyQ Security Plus look with the new radios and everything, and into the new LCD control panel. So we're going to phase that one out. It uses some older technology that we're having a hard time getting. Tri-Code products. If you bought Tri-Code, Tri-Code is going away next month. So we will no longer provide the Tri-Code product line. All of our Passport, if you bought those, all the specials, they had CPT SP. Those are all going away. And the 2 and 4 button visor and the Passport line are also going away. And then we have really old legacy products called ClickCard and AutoKey that were from Centex. Those are all being eliminated as well. And then I'm going to give you a quick commercial receiver update. If you're buying the Star 450, the Star 450 is moving to service as a service item. It will only be sold as a service item, and therefore it's getting a price and structure change. So if you were buying the Star 50 before, like a LiftMaster accessory or radio, it is now a part. So it falls under your parts line, and it has a new pricing structure. So that if you, I think you guys got that obsolescence. So that's going to be changed. So, and then there's a price increase on the 312 and the 412. So now it's more cost effective for you to buy the 850 and the 860, okay, and move you into new technology. And the reason that we're doing a lot of this is because there's a lot of interference out there. We're trying to move people into the new radio. It's a better product for interference issues that you find out there. And the older technology has components that are just harder and harder to get. This world is moving fast when it comes to technology. We've got some new residential accessories. I don't have this one. This is a new door bracket that we offer. It's powder-coated white if your customer wants to have something nice on the inside of the door, since most insides of the doors are white, so we have that. And we also have a ceiling mount. So the ceiling mount, I actually have one up here. It's a really nice way to, and I'm not going to open it, but it's a really nice way to clean up the installation. So if you look up there, you can see that it looks pretty nice, gets rid of all the angle iron. Very easy to install. We hired a couple of installers and said, install this, and we had them install it 3 times. And by the 3rd time, they were installing it as fast as they do angle iron. It's a one-cut system. There's a down rod, so that down rod is extruded aluminum. It's very easy to cut. There's a measuring system inside the box for you. You can measure what you need to do, cut it right there, and then install it. There's a collar on the outside of it, so it hides your cut, so it's nice and clean. Once you put it, you can put it in parallel or perpendicular, so either way, depending on how the struts are going in the ceiling. And then it does allow you to do wire management, so there's a wire channel in there, so you can run all your wires and make it a nice, clean installation. So it's just a nice, if somebody's doing a man cave, they can put this in there. And then the new 8500, these are the 2 new, I'm going to talk about the 2 new openers that we launched at IDA this year. So the new one is the 8500. It is the replacement for the 3800. So this was the #1 unit people were asking us to move into the Security Plus 2.0 and MyQ technology. So that's what we did here. The The unit itself, the radio has been removed from the logic board, and now the only radio is in the MyQ control panel. So that comes packed standard in the 8500 now. Looks slightly different. The control panel gives you still timer to close, has motion sensing. The key thing that you guys need to be aware of is that the 8500 uses a different logic board for replacement than the 3800 did. Okay? So that's the new 8500 that is now available. And the new 8355, which replaced our 3280. This is a half horsepower unit. Now you've seen that look before when we launched the 8360 in 2011. Looks just like this one. This is an AC operator. The 8360 is a DC operator. So the 8355, 1/2 horsepower AC belt drive opener. This one's not battery backup because it's AC. So I just want to make sure everybody's clear on that because I get that question quite often. It has the new Security Plus 2.0 and the MyQ radio already built in. The big thing that you need to know on this unit, it has auto limits and electronic limits and auto force. No more force pods on the AC units. So as we move the AC line into the Security Plus 2.0 and the MyQ, we're also moving it into that, that electronic limits and auto force. That looks identical to the way that the DC operator. So if you've installed an 8550 or an 8360, you learn it the same way. So it's pretty easy to use as well. This one comes with a multifunction control panel and an 893 LM, which is Security Plus 2.0 only, remote control included. And that's it.
GDO light bulbs.
Oh, GDO light bulbs. So in the new Security Plus 2.0, MyQ operators, they are designed to work with both incandescent and CFLs. Do not use CFLs in older operators. It causes a lot of, they're kind of noisy, and you will get interference range. Do not put LED light bulbs in a garage door opener. I don't care what brand it is. LED light bulbs, the ones that they made look like a light bulb, are very noisy and will literally eliminate your range. So don't use them. And it's just don't use them in the power heads. All right?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.